Are you trusting in your own wisdom, or are you waiting on marching orders from the throne of God? So this last week at Current Church here in Indiana, I talked about the Battle of Jericho. And like a lot of you out there, I'm sure that you assumed, just as I did, that I knew what the story was all about. We were taught, in Sunday school growing up that it was all about the Israelites coming against this huge city with these huge walls and this impossibility standing ahead of them. But when I started to look into the context, I actually realized that maybe it wasn't quite as much of an impossibility as we thought it was. See, historical records show us that the city of Jericho was actually only about 6 to 8 acres large. Now, it did have a really large wall, actually 2 of them, but in reality, there was probably only about 1,200 inhabitants. And at the time of the battle, there might have been up to a few thousand. Now, the Israelites had 600,000 fighting men. If those odds aren't in your favor, then I don't know what would be. 600,000 men, 600,000 fighting men, versus a city of a few thousand inhabitants, and some of those might be warriors. So in reality, the odds were pretty good towards the Israelites. They probably could have just gone up and taken the city on their own, but they didn't. They waited to hear from the Lord. They waited to hear what God's plan was for them to take the city. They had already received a good report from the spies who had heard from Rahab that everybody in the city was terrified of them. They could have just assumed that that was God saying, go ahead and take the city. But they didn't. They waited on what I like to call a divine mandate, or a mandate from heaven, before they marched on the city. And then as they marched around, I'm sure that some of these great warriors were looking at the city walls and saying, I bet we could get in there. I bet we could get in there. They could have talked amongst themselves, but God told them to shut up and walk. He told them to stay silent for the whole time that they were marching around the city. And I believe that was because God didn't want them to take it in their own power or from their own planning, but by His divine mandate, His mandate from heaven. And we talked about how it's so crucial that we get a mandate from heaven and don't just go on our own plans. Actually, the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, or submit to Him, as some translations say, and He will direct your path. So today, I wanted to encourage you to not just look at your situation and figure it out on your own, but to wait until you hear from the Lord that you have received a mandate from heaven. You have received marching orders from the throne of grace before you decide which way you should go.
Hi, I'm Alicia from He is Revival Ministries. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you were encouraged and uplifted by this teaching. To learn more about our ministry, please go to heisrevival.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at He is Revival. We update there about everywhere we go and everything we do. Be sure to click subscribe and the notification bell down below before you leave. Also, click the like button and comment to keep the conversation going. Thank you so much. God bless.